I would like to see dance sport added to the Olympics lineup. However, everything comes at a cost. So as I shared in a previous related video, dance sport and breakdance are governed by the same worldwide dance organization, the WEDSF, okay, World Dance Sport Federation. And breakdance was added to the Olympics lineup this year, which was quite a surprise for everyone. So the odds are higher than ever that in the future, dance sport might be added. I'm going to cover the cons first. Number one, there is a fear that Olympics would eliminate the artistry. So I have heard this from other pros. I don't necessarily disagree, but I have heard this argument, okay? So for example, perhaps they would have required elements. And I think they have something similar to this in ice skating, where they have events where you must do this figure, you must do this figure, you must do this figure. And certainly at the championship level in dance sport, although we do have commonly accepted figures that are characteristic of that dance, everything is based on the syllabus. Artistically, you can do whatever you want as long as it is representative of the spirit of that dance. And I do think there's something to be said for that in terms of the artistic growth of this industry. Because if you look at, say, a Blackpool video from 40 years ago, 50 years ago, it's largely just syllabus. And now you wouldn't recognize half the figures out there unless you already were familiar with the circuit and were a championship level dancer yourself, okay? My personal biggest concern are the politics. When dance sport was being considered, this was back when the Olympics was hosted in Australia, to become an Olympic sport, there was some vicious fights in the governing organizations that govern the world of dance sport. And I mean, I have never seen the likes of this. Certainly there are political disagreements now, but friends, that was ugly. Like there were just hate groups in both sides. Everyone was vitriolically against everyone that supported the NDCA. Everyone that was in this group hated the USA Dance. Everyone in the USA Dance hated, the PDF. I mean, there was a bajillion different governing organizations. Now I'm painting with a broad brush, but I can say without a doubt, I was there. It was decades ago, but it was ugly. And anytime a sport is added to the Olympics, you start to get big money involved in terms of sponsorships, especially money coming in, exposure for your sport. And so I really fear and predict that this same history would repeat itself. And these dancers would grow into kind of enemy camps and people would not be supportive of each other, which when I am queen one day of the dance sport world, that will be the case. That we're going to get rid of this political nonsense. But you know what? I do think it would happen again. And there's going to be a lot of fights for power. And I don't like that. To me, dancing, ballroom dance is a joy. And I just would hate to have that emotional negative experience cultivated in our world, of ballroom dance, okay? On the upside, guys, I do love that the Olympics bring such exposure to all of its sports. So obviously worldwide stage. And in my experience over the years, and certainly this was very much the case 20, 30, 40 years ago, the United States, where I'm broadcasting from, was way behind the rest of the world in terms of really even knowing what ballroom dance was. Okay, so when I started out 40 years ago, I just thought it was like a bunch of, great-grandparents kind of waddling around on the floor. And certainly with the advent of Dancing with the Stars, So You Think You Can Dance, people do actually get a realistic picture in their mind's eye of what ballroom dance can be. Okay, nothing wrong with being a social dancer. I am not throwing shade at that. But I do feel that helps everyone strive for more. And it is more visually appealing, so it brings more people into the sport, to the social activity. And I also feel sharing that athletic element, especially in the kind of venue, the setting of the Olympics, would be more appealing to younger people because they can kind of make bucket list life goals out of that. Experience of seeing that, on YouTube, seeing that on TV and wanting to be a part of that glory, so to speak. So not just the beauty, but almost playing on people's ego, for lack of a better word. Here's another huge benefit that I see. I would love to see this actually. I've shared previously on my channel a lot of the politics involved in dance sport. Mama don't like it. And if you've missed some of those, I'll share a link to at least one of those videos below. But it is real. The struggle is real. There are real politics involved. The marks you get in competition are not always fair. This is why no teacher can guarantee you to even make it out of one round in a comp, let alone, win a national championship. So if the dancing is broadcast on an international circuit publicly, in my opinion, there is going to be a public control of the politics. So a judge would have a very difficult time placing their favorite couples unfairly, because it would be visible and in the light to the world. I'll give you an example, guys, because I've just seen some very unfortunate people get totally cheated out of what would have been fair results and a fair win. One year at the UK Open, and again, this is years ago, guys, I do feel the politics gets slightly better with time because there's more accountability, but at the UK Open, I saw the couples in the final. Well, I saw all the rounds, but there was one couple in particular that, honest to goodness, guys, they shouldn't have made it out of the first round. They were only there because of their names. And I'm not going to share the year because I'm afraid people would know who I'm talking about if they were competing at the championship level at that time. But trust me, they were horrible. It wasn't just the dancing. The floor craft was so jacked up. They must have ran into other couples, 10 times. They were just like a ping pong ball out there, nothing but a roadblock, and aesthetically displeasing to watch. But they did make it into that final because of previous accomplishments. And they lucked out that year. Their primary coaches, many of them just happened to be on the judging panel that year. Okay. Totally not fair. And I did talk to several coaches that were world finalists at that time or retired world champions. I'm like, what happened? Because we all saw so-and-so was completely outclassed out there. Why did they get recalled? And they explained why. And I was like, well, where's the accountability? And they're like, well, there really isn't, because videotaping is not allowed at the comp. Not only could the audience not videotape, not only could the coaches not videotape, the comp itself had zero visual record of what happened. So if you hadn't been one of those select people in the Royal Albert Hall that night, you had no idea who actually should have won. And trust you me, someone got cheated big time. Actually, two couples, because the couple that should have won totally didn't. And if this had been in the Olympics, it would have been really obvious to the world. And I feel like it would have encouraged those judges to actually put politics aside and judge based on empirical evaluation, what they were seeing on the floor at that time, like everyone should. But that didn't happen. And to boot, guys, I really feel there's a benefit to having a visual record in terms of the history of dance. And it is a joy for me, even though maybe the dancing would not be considered that good today, to look at those historic videos, those gems that happen to last all those decades. To what a privilege to see that older dancing, to get to watch that evolution. Fascinating, an artistic record. It's like having a museum with old paintings. What the heck is the point of having a Rembrandt when we just hide it in a closet for the next 200 years? Like it, just because it's old, don't mean it's not valuable. Like, this is crazy to me. And certainly in the Olympics, not only would you have a select pool of people that have these videos, for example, even when they started to allow video in competition before dance sport became popular, the only people that had kind of a visual record were existing competitors, okay? But fortunately, that is changing with time. But in my opinion, if it were added to the Olympics, that audience would get to be so exponentially bigger that, in my opinion, the politics would, never totally go away, but certainly there would be a very strong incentive to judge fairly. So guys, please share your opinions on this. I am but one dancer in a world of ballroom dancers. That's my 2 cents. And thanks for joining me today. I will see you first thing tomorrow with some more ballroom dance hot tea. Toodles and happy dancing.